Ndanu, which right do you think we are handling today?
The right to education.
The right to education. Under this act, there's a set of rules that we're going to touch on today called the Kenya National Examination Council Management of Exams Rules.
A lot of Kenyans are living hand to mouth. So we are here hustling to catch up with this economy.
To pay sha.
Exactly.
NSSF,
And then
NHF,
you want me to
CDF,
get home
PSF.
and you've given my kindergarten child a project to create a farm. Now,
A model farm.
yes.
I think the government has this weird rush to things that they cannot seem to explain to the public.
Oh, yeah.
We are rushing to implement CBC. Yes. But what does it mean for parents? We are rushing to implement SHIF and SHA. What does it mean for the public?
Hi guys, welcome to the rundown.
My name is Mihala Barasa.
And I'm Danuz Yuko.
Welcome back to another episode of the rundown. Thank you for subscribing to our channel so far. If you've not subscribed, do us a favor and just hit the subscribe button. When you watch this video and any other video, please like, share with your friends, with your family, drop it in a group, and then leave so that other people can see this video.
Yes. Thank you. Also, you can follow us on our personal pages at Danuz Yuko.
At Mihala Barasa on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So today I'd like us to talk about a topic that has been heavy on a lot of Kenyans' minds, the education crisis, especially looking at the implementation of the CBC. Yes. Sorry, you said in the previous episode that we need to be saying things in full. The competency-based curriculum. Yes. So I think to start off the episode, we can look at some of the issues that have been raised by parents and teachers concerning this new education system.
Okay. I think as Kenyans, I saw this with SHIF and SHA, I've seen this with the CBC, and even the Finance Bill and Act of 2024. I think the government has this weird rush to things that they cannot seem to explain to the public.
Oh, yeah.
We are rushing to implement CBC.
Yes.
But what does it mean for parents? We are rushing to implement SHIF and SHA. What does it mean for the public? You know, we are rushing to pass the finance bill. But what are the implications of this to the public? For me, I think that would be a good place to start. Everybody was saying CBC is a very rushed curriculum because teachers and students and parents were not ready for it. But maybe, I think one of the first challenges for me was the lack of public participation. And we're not saying that go to every household and tell them, this is what CBC is about. My practical example is, I like what the Association of Kenyan Insurers does with sensitizing people on what insurance policies are and what those do. That would have been a good place to start. Local radio channels, local TV channels, national TV channels. Even find pastors, community elders, chiefs, people who can tell you this is CBC, this is how it's going to look like, these are the implications for you and for your kids.
Yeah.
Like proper civic education on what CBC is about to the parents first. Then get the parents buy-in. Let them understand this is what my child is going to learn. Then after that, in the meantime, train teachers as well. So one of the main issues that CBC had, at least for me, is nobody knew what was going on, apart from probably the CS for education and the people that they had sat with in a room and decided this is what our children need.
Yeah. I get what you mean. Where is the place for public participation? Yeah. And even when we're talking about public participation, that includes stakeholder engagement. The teachers should have been given an opportunity to review this new curriculum, to be trained on it, to give their feedback on it, to criticize it, to improve it, you know. just be very rigorous on it before you come to
Roll
implement
it out.
Yes. So this new system is replacing the old 844 system. Yeah. 844 system, I think, had been in place for about 35 years. So this new system started out around in 2019.
19 years.
Yeah. So, and also that just goes to show how our government is. Sometimes they're jokers. From 2019 until 2025, we've still not figured things out.
We're still not figured it out.
Yeah.
We've still not figured it out, by the way.
That's a problem.
That's tricky.
Yeah. One of the things that also shocked me, or shocked a lot of Kenyans, was in January, there were students who were supposed to be going to grade 9, and nobody was sure where they're supposed to go. Are they supposed to be hosted in the primary school?
Or are they supposed to go to a secondary school somewhere?
You know,
Yes.
like, it's like, oh, we didn't know grade 9 was coming. It's a shock.
And then,
surprise!
did you see the issue for the books?
Yes.
Apparently, they are not printed books for
The grade 9.
grade 9.
Yes.
And even the parents that are going to buy books for grade 9 now are being told, wait, until the end of January, we will have printed enough books and
Imagine.
worked out the curriculum properly and given you. As a teacher even, what am I telling my students in a class?
Yes. What are you teaching them for?
What
a
am
whole
I
month?
teaching them for a whole month?
That's actually a very good question. And it even brings the next issue of licensing of junior secondary school
Teachers.
schools.
Schools, sorry.
Yes, especially the private schools. They had a lot of challenges with it because by the time the ministry had decided, okay, junior secondary should be at the primary school. And then, so now a lot of primary schools were now rushing to go and get that license to have junior secondary school classrooms and employ the JSS teachers. So that also, I don't think it was managed properly, because what they should have done, because if this thing started in 2019, so by the time you're rolling this out, there should have been a clear framework. Should have been very clear that for a junior secondary school, these are the requirements. So for you to have this license, this is what you need to do. Yes. And for children transitioning from grade 6 to JSS, this is how the transition is going to be handled.
happen, yeah.
Yes. And then now also, for the first time, we are having secondary schools not onboarding Form 1 students. So the other problem that was coming out is now that the school only has Form 2, 3, and 4, there's like a funding issue because there's the money that was to be paid by Form 1 students
is not coming.
It's not coming.
The government capitation is not coming,
It's not
and
coming.
the school fees is
It's
not coming.
Yes. So some school heads were increasing the fees for Form 2, Form 3, and Form 4.
That explains it.
Yeah. So you're finding now parents are wondering, okay, you're slapping us with this big invoice in January. What are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to get this money from? Yeah. So that also, it all boils down to the implementation because the system is supposed to be a 2663 system. So by the time they had already decided it's supposed to be 2 years in kindergarten,
Elementary.
6 years in elementary, then 6 years in secondary school, and 3 years in university, they should have already worked it out to know how is the capitation going to work, how is the funding going to work. And the worst thing is a lot of the schools have been opened in January and the government has given them 50% of the required capitation for term 1. So that is also increasing the burden on the parents.
On the parents.
Yes, because when the teachers don't have enough funding to run the school term, they push it
to the parents.
To the parents.
Because your child has to be there anyway.
Yes.
I think the other thing that I have had a lot of schools battling with is the fact that we do not have facilities for this junior secondary school. Like, we are not prepared to host them.
Yeah.
Yet there's hundreds of free Form 1 classes with no one. There's a lot of infrastructure around secondary schools. Why not find a way to take those JSS students into those Form 1 classes to learn? Because now a primary school is struggling to put up structures, and there's this secondary school which is near it. Let me use an example of my local maybe village. I don't know how it happens in Nairobi. I can use my village. There's Lugulu Primary, then there's Lugulu Girls High School.
Yes.
Lugulu Primary is struggling to set up JSS. But Lugulu Girls High School has a whole myriad of Form 1 streams open without anyone. Remember, when you get to JSS, you're supposed to have labs, like things are getting technical.
Yes.
Primary schools don't have labs. At least not the ones I know, at least not the one I went to. They don't have labs. They're not well equipped to handle science courses. Secondary schools already have these labs in place. Why not find a way to accommodate these students, at least in the meantime, in those classes, and then maybe work this thing out as you go ahead. Because also remember, one of the things that primary and secondary school teachers have been battling with for years is the limitation of teachers that teach science courses.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the way this new CBC is structured is around 60% of the students are supposed to go into STEM. So you're saying 60% of students are supposed to go into STEM with 21% of teachers teaching only sciences.
Yes.
The remaining ones are teaching humanities.
There's
How
a
is that
problem there.
working?
Exactly.
How is that working? Because there's not enough scientific subject teachers, or at least TSC is not employing enough of them for them to be able to work through this transition. Boils down to, were we prepared for it? The other thing that I've just been thinking about as you're speaking is the way the university curriculum is structured for teachers and even TTCs, teachers training colleges, is we teach you to equip you for 844. Have they sat down and asked whether teachers are now being taught to equip them for CBC? Has that structure changed? If it hasn't changed, then what is it that the university and TTC curriculum needs to do to equip those teachers to be able to teach through CBC? Because remember, teaching me parts of a leaf in class 6 is very different from teaching me adaptations of a leaf in Form 2.
Yes.
Those are adaptations of a leaf is quite technical from the parts of a leaf in class 6. So you cannot expect me as a teacher of parts of a leaf to now come and teach you adaptations.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense.
And actually, that is a very critical area, because have the teachers been taken through training? You have a whole Kenya School of Government has branches. You have the teachers, the technical training colleges for teachers. During the school holidays, shouldn't the teachers be going back to be refreshed, now be told, okay, so this is CBC, this is what it's about, this is how the curriculum is going to change, this is what is expected of you as a humanities teacher, as a sciences teacher, as a math teacher, this is how the curriculum is going to change. Because we are assuming you're just going to roll out this new system and the teachers are going to just go with it. Like, here, okay, now teach.
Now teach a physics concept.
Yes.
All you know are parts of a leaf.
Imagine. Yeah. I think it's quite hectic, and there should have been a better way of rolling out and implementing this new system. Yeah. The other area that has plagued this new system, I think, is the closure of, well, it's not necessarily to do with CBC per se. It's just part of the education crisis. So in November, the government issued a notice to 348 boarding schools
I remember.
about the closure of their boarding sections. So this was because of their failure to comply with certain guidelines for the boarding schools, which had been brought about by the incident at
The fire incident.
the fire incident. So, well, first of all, okay. Sometimes this is where I feel bad that we are reactive instead of proactive. So the government reacted by closing the boarding schools. But the question is, those boarding schools, when they were getting the licenses, where was the government at that point? The Ministry of Education has a Directorate for Quality Assurance and Standards. Now, what was the Directorate doing when 348 boarding schools had been opened but had not met the boarding
They are non-compliant, and they've been non-compliant throughout the year.
Imagine, 348. By the time, like 348
Is a lot.
Is a lot.
Is a lot. Like if you're saying each of those schools has give or take 1,000 students.
Yes.
That's 348,000 children in danger.
Yes. And I'm not saying that they should have been allowed to open. No, I'm saying let us first check ourselves and see what are we doing wrong in our licensing process. Because a lot of times we find not only just schools, even businesses that have been licensed by the government and are operating but have not met the required standards. The quality standards that have been set out by the laws and the regulations by that same body that has given them the license. So does it mean that no one is inspecting those places before they are opened?
Someone is inspecting, but they are compromised. I think for me, one of the things was these schools were closed in November.
Yes.
And you've given me 20 things to comply with. November, December, you have a period of 8 weeks.
Yes.
Ask the school, out of these 20 things, how many of them can you comply with by January?
Yes.
Then come on January, maybe the 2nd or the 3rd before schools open,
yes,
and ask me, what have you complied with? Or tell me, of these 20 things, the most important ones for you to be able to have children in classrooms and in those boarding sections are these ones. All through term 1, we will go through the rest of the compliance requirements.
Yes.
So this is the minimum, this is the bare minimum for you to meet, for you to be able to admit students, so that you don't disrupt learning. Because the other thing that I feel like the government does, I don't know if it's voluntary or involuntarily, is sometimes they take away from whatever it is that the students need and make it about themselves.
Yes.
So you're making this about looking like you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And you're forgetting that there are learners. There are at least 348,000 learners that are outside. And remember, those principals, most of them, they didn't tell their students, don't come in January.
Yes.
So when they come back in January, they're like, hey, Ministry of Education and Quality Assurance are like, you cannot come into school. I have traveled from Busia to go to a school in Garissa. My mother can only afford that fare once in a term. Where are you expecting me to go? Yeah,
that's a very good question. I think we should be, when it comes to implementation of some of these guidelines or ensuring that the non-compliant institutions get to a compliant state, then we should implement, now I'll use terms that I use at work.
a tiered approach, perhaps.
Okay, yes, let's use that, a tiered approach, yes. I was about to say a compliance risk management plan.
Say a tiered approach.
Thanks. Thank you for that. Yeah, Nihala has really been fighting for you people. She's like, no using jargon. Okay, so you have a tiered approach. And I like the way you're saying the Ministry of Education should sit down with the schools and ask, let's say, okay, this one, if it's fire extinguishers, that is a must-have. By January,
all of you should have fire extinguishers, no grills on the windows.
Exactly, yes. Then now you have put them in terms of priority or put like a risk matrix to it. Which of the areas, from what you've identified, which are the high risk areas? And if you do not correct those high risk items, then we can't allow you to open in January. Yes, that's how it should be. Then these other things that are probably medium risk and good to have, then now you give them maybe 3 to 6 months to implement. Yeah.
And then do regular checks.
Exactly.
Your job is literally quality assurance. Surely why are you sitting on your hands and not doing the job?
You've been in Nairobi, seated in your office for a whole year. There is no day if we check, you have asked for travel to go and check the schools that are out of Nairobi. No day. Oh, you have been going and we're not seeing.
Where have you been going?
Yes.
Umekuwa ukienda wapi?
Umekuwa ukienda wapi? Umekuwa ukilipwa pa DM. Umekuwa ukienda wapi?
Miss Sarah from compliance, we are talking to you. Umekuwa ukienda wapi? Benja from compliance, umekuwa ukienda wapi?
Okay, then the other thing that I'd like us to talk about is the fake exams. There were some schools last year that did fake KPSE exams.
Did they even finish doing the exams? Or are they
There's some that actually didn't
Some did,
finish.
yeah? Oh my God.
Then they realized, oops, we've done
Rada. Rather.
Yes. I think that was a very sad story.
It was.
Yeah. It was a really sad story. And that's probably we will touch on it on the role of parents. So even when you take your child to a school and you're expecting them to sit for a national exam or an international exam, because there are also some
International schools that were plagued.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that they are actually registered by the body that is giving this exam. So like in Kenya, that's KNEC. Yes. And then the saddest thing about this story of the fake exams, it was that there were certain schools that didn't get the license from KNEC to be an examination center because they didn't meet the threshold on the number of students. So you see, a lot of parents didn't know there was such a requirement. So the school has few students, but as a parent, you've not thought about
like,
it.
there've always been 10 students in the class.
Exactly.
So it's fine.
Yeah. So the schools that didn't get the license because they didn't meet the threshold for the number of students sitting for the exam, they took them to another examination center. So they studied until the end of the term. Then they took them. The school actually
Takes you to another
examination center.
That used to happen a lot when I was in primary school as well.
Yes, and which is okay. I think as a school owner, don't feel embarrassed.
Just take them to another center.
Exactly. Just tell the parents, we haven't met the number, so we will take them to this other school to do the exams. But we will prepare them adequately for the exams. That's it. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, Kenya, let's not feel the need to lie.
And I think it's the one school that was in the media for all this, like the one that blew up.
Yeah.
The advantage of it is there's a parent who asked their child, "Did you do exams?" He said that no, we didn't do exams. The teacher said not to tell you we didn't do exams. We'll start our exams tomorrow. Because the parent asked, "How was the exam?"
Yes.
And the kid was like, "We didn't do, but the teacher said not to tell you guys." Then when they went the next day, they were given exams now for their previous day. They were like, "Now, I don't know if it was a math paper, but this is now a math paper. People did maths yesterday. You are being given today." And the parents were like, "There's something here that doesn't smell right."
That's not how national exams are
that's
done.
not how national exams work. If it was not for that situation, then probably they would not have known their children are doing fake exams.
A teacher told the students to lie.
Yes. Tell them, don't say you didn't do exams. If they ask you, just say the exams were okay. And then the parent came and was like, "Hey, Rada." Then they were like, "Oh, we are being given exams today." When the issue got to the police, they realized they were being given the previous year's papers to sit that year. Hey. And the school was not registered as an examination center.
Mav, tuweke ile soundtrack here. The mobile subscriber. What?
Imagine.
You've been giving us exams from the previous year.
The previous year.
Where? Hey, yeah. I have felt the pain for you parents.
Imagine.
I'm so sorry.
And then I think the international one, the results came and I think they were withheld or something. So they're like, this center is not going to get exams for this year. And I know a child who had to receipt the exam. I don't know how long it took her, but she had to receipt the exam in order to apply for her university education.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that's...
So they did the exam?
They did the exam, yes.
Then the results were withheld.
Then the results were withheld. I don't know for what reason. I can't say they were fake exams really, but I think there must be a requirement that probably they didn't meet or something happened. I don't know.
Or something happened,
Yeah.
yes. And the whole examination center probably was cancelled.
And now even KCSE, as we are speaking, there are some students that have not received their exams because of examination malpractices.
Oh, yeah.
Quote unquote, stole exams.
Yeah, that thing has been a big issue in Kenya
for
years. But that one has been there for so many years.
For so long.
Yeah. I don't know how we can go about it. But I usually ask myself, do we really need to do that main exam? Because sometimes I feel like there were people who were doing really well in school. Then the pressure that comes with that final exam makes them like
fumble it.
Yes. Then they end up not doing as well as they have been doing throughout their whole curriculum. I think that was what probably the Uhuru government was trying to solve with CBC.
The CBC,
Yeah, to have like several exams that are determining your future, not just one big
main
exam.
exam. Yeah, because KCSE kind of does that.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair that 1 month of extreme pressure
Yes.
gets to determine who you become or what you do with your life.
Yes.
Because largely, I think 90% of us are our lives are determined by the grade that we got in KCSE.
Yes.
Sometimes, even in employment, you're like a 30-something-year-old, someone is still asking you, what did you get in high school? I'm like, what do you mean?
I know. What
I've
does
been
it
running my
matter?
department for the past 4 years. What do you mean, what did I get in
Get it.
KCSE?
I know.
Like, it's not even about
There's a place
your
I went for an
competency.
interview once, and they asked me why I have not gone back to my high school to pick the
The results slip?
certificate.
Yeah.
The certificate. In my head, I'm like, for what? Like, it's been so long. Okay, I'll come. I know the school is in Nairobi. I'll come.
But yeah,
One day.
that should tell you how much as a country we base our value on KCSE.
Yes.
I want to attack you a little bit. Just go with it. Think about it from this perspective. You go to a very good private primary school that you're paying hundreds of thousands, and you do extremely well, be it KCSE or whatever exam that you do, KCPE or whatever exam that you do, or at least we did before CBC.
Yeah.
And then you, as a parent who's extremely capable, takes your kid to this government capitated national school where your child admittedly will do very well as well. And this whole time, you as a parent have the capability of actually transferring your child from this private primary school to a private secondary school. But you know what you're looking for in that national school. You know, if my child gets an A, they have a better chance.
I don't think it's
in
me.
life.
You should talk to my parents.
They have a better chance in life.
That should not have been. That was not my.
You see, like, that's just how life is. Because I can go to a private high school, but the private high school probably is not what we see on the maybe top 20,
Of course.
the majority of the top 20 schools in Kenya.
And I think what was happening when we were younger was a lot of parents were investing a lot of money in the primary school so that you can get a good score at KCPE to get you into a national school.
Yeah.
So that they know the minute you get there, whether you
are good. I know, Ndanu, you have felt it. Mrs. Nziuko, if you ever watch this, please know I love you very much.
Yeah.
You are like my second mom in Nairobi. I did not mean to attack you.
I don't know why we were being involved in the example, but let us move on to what is required in registration of examination centers.
That's a good question. So first of all, we go back to the law. And Ndanu, which right do you think we are handling today?
The right to education.
The right to education.
Nimesikia nika nimerudishwa exam room.
But let's leave the rights alone. I just wanted to know if she's attentive. Na pia nijua janikasirikia juu hiyo story ya private school.
Feels catch.
But there's a legislation called the Kenya National Examination Council Act, the KNEC Act, which deals with everything that KNEC does. Under this act, there's a set of rules that we are going to touch on today called the Kenya National Examination Council Management of Exams Rules. Yeah, Kenya National Examination Council Management of Exams Rules. It's a 2015 legislation, but it was updated in 2022. So this is the primary legislation that deals with registration of examination centers. So right to education, Kenya National Examination Council Act, then the management rules that are a subsidiary or a smaller part of the rules of the KNEC Act. What part of it are we dealing with it today? It's how examination centers are registered. The first thing I'm going to kind of read out to you is, what is an examination center? Parents, please, Samba, I hope you are watching. Parents. An examination center is an institution or a premise approved and registered by the Council, Kenya National Examination Council, for purposes of administering council exams. And in this situation, the council exams we are talking about would be KCPE and KCSE. Probably now KEPSEA, and what's the other one? Still KCSE. I think until Form 2
Until they finish.
They finish Form 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what are the requirements to be able to be registered as an examination center? We start from the fact that KNEC itself will determine the criteria or the minimum requirements for what an examination center should have. This is the standards, maybe the standard of the classroom, how many classrooms, aeration, quality assurance that Ndanu was talking about. Now, there's a minimum required number of students. 15 students for primary school examination, 10 students for 15 students for primary and secondary school examination, 10 students for NEC, those NEC exams that are done by other institutions, post-secondary institutions. So I hope you've known that. If the school that your kid goes to has less than 15 students, you should be very careful and be there to ask the hard questions. And why am I saying this? Because if the students are less than 15 or the pupils are less than 15, that does not necessarily mean that the school cannot be registered as an exam center. You will be allowed to get registered as an exam center. You just have to pay for the minimum of the 15 students. So NEC will allow you, they'll come do their quality assurance and everything, but you'll have to pay for what 15 students would have paid for. Mpaka hapo tumepatana?
Yes.
Yes. Samba, I hope you're listening. I'm not saying her children go to a bad school. I'm just saying.
As a parent.
As a parent. So the rules allow for you to register a student as a private candidate. So if you're a private candidate, then you will be registered by the county director of education. So your parent needs to go to the county director of education. I have no idea how the process goes, but the county director for education should be able to give you those steps. But it's the same thing even with the public or institutionalized candidates. The application still has to go through the county director of education. That is why you see this examination centers that they say they are doing fake exams. Most of them were like, county director, come out and tell us what the status of this school is. So there's that as well. So you can register private, you can register institutionalized or quote unquote public, but you have to meet the 15 or 10. If not, you can be allowed to register, but you'll register for the minimum number. And NEC itself gives the requirements to be registered as an examination center. The other thing that we fail to acknowledge is when we were in primary school, at least when I was, there was a pre-registration. So the NEC officials and I think that time it wasn't county, they'll come to the school and do their inspections and make sure your name is right, you give a copy of your birth certificate, all those things are right. So the pre-registration is done. Then after, there are people who probably didn't bring their birth certificates or copies, there was like an after process where those who did not get registered, they come and they verify their details. So part of the mandate of schools and candidates and parents is to verify that information and make sure that the right information goes to NEC. So that when your results come out, they come out with the right name and the right information. And the other thing is then what is the role of the head of institutions? This is the principals, this is the head teachers, the headmaster, wanaitwangaje? Head of school, the head sister, I don't know what you people call them, the head of institutions. So the role of the head of institution is to make sure each and every candidate in the school is registered for the exam. Failing to register students, listen, head teachers, is a criminal offense. And you will be jailed for either 1 year or give a fine of 500K. So I was looking at the rules, those NEC rules that I talked about, and I was thinking about it. Is it 1 year per candidate or is it 500,000? Like, is it 1 year and 500,000 per candidate or is it like an entire block? It looked to me like the entire block. Though, if you find a good lawyer, they can do it per candidate. If you fail to register 30 candidates, that's 500K for every student. Please be very wary. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that very detailed explanation on the registration. I think that's will help a lot of parents in ensuring that the school they take their children to is actually registered by NEC as an examination center. And it's also good to check whether your school, the school you've taken your child to, has been given a license by the Ministry of Education. Yeah, that's very important because a school could have been deregistered by the Ministry of Education and your child is still going to that school. So it's good to know that they're in good standing with the Ministry of Education. In as much as the Ministry of Education has its own issues, that's another story. But make sure the school your child goes
is registered.
Is registered.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. The other area that we were going to touch on today, just slightly, is on the role of the Directorate of Quality Assurance and Standards by the Ministry of Education. So this is a directorate that is under the Ministry of Education. So this directorate, basically the way the name states, their work is to do Q&A, quality assurance. So they're supposed to, one, make sure that the policies and standards that have been set by the Ministry of Education are being implemented by the various schools. Okay, so they're supposed to do inspections. They're supposed to do trainings. They're also supposed to advise schools on quality issues. So if they come to your school, they check that probably you're not meeting the quality standards. They're supposed to advise you on what to do. Why do you want to laugh? What?
I want to laugh because there's sometime, I hope I remember this right. There's sometime last year when one of the big media houses ran a feature of some schools in Baringo, and there were like 3 schools. Do you remember when Morara was doing those videos of this project was launched and then behind it there's nothing?
Yes.
There was a lot of schools like that.
Yeah.
Like there's a gate, there's the signpost, it says Ndanunziuko Secondary School, PO Box, Nairobi, and then behind it is just like fallow land or like a bushes, no classrooms, like nothing at all.
Nothing is happening.
Nothing is happening. And then I think they even went as far as interviewing locals.
Ghost secondary.
Yes, there are ghost secondary schools. And they went as far as interviewing locals. And I remember watching, and one of the locals was very defensive, like, yes, there was a school that was supposed to be here. In fact, there was a proposal that was supposed to be done, a school to be set up here. We don't know what happened. But now, part of what the evidence that the TV station had is these schools have board of directors, chairman of the board. They have they have bank
What
accounts.
are they governing?
Yes. They have bank accounts and they're receiving capitated funds from the government.
Hey, the
Directorate of
soundtrack,
Quality.
you know, the soundtrack for Wajinka Wabaya. I'm like, this episode just needs all the soundtracks. Like,
Yeah, so there's, and the locals were actually quite defensive of the fact that yes, there's supposed to be a school here. I think what they didn't know is these people are receiving funds from the government for students who are not there, for developments which are not there. In fact, it was so heated that I think the member of parliament for that particular region that was being chastised came out to say, oh, these schools are not even receiving CDF. And in my head, I was like, that is not the main issue.
yeah, the main issue is that there's no school.
There's no school. Like,
You're in a board of a field.
Yeah.
Like, there we are. Here's a field.
Here's a field.
And the board.
And
BOG, come.
And even it's better if it's a field that, like, it's an open field, animals graze and children play football there.
You know?
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but there's some sort of life. Aki, I'll look for that video and send you. It's a bush. Ndanuni bush. Like, it's a bush, it's a gate and a bush behind it. Like, the news is like this to find the name of the signpost. I'm like,
Okay. Kenya, let us go. We exit all of us. We come in one by one. Yeah, serious people only. Like, what is it?
but as long as you don't exit towards, okay, we can exit towards Uganda. They're better.
Yeah. Yes. They like us better than other neighbors. Well, the other area is they're supposed to do basically monitoring and evaluation. So they're supposed to monitor the quality activities, anything to do with quality around education and things like that. That's what I was mentioning when we were talking about the closure of boarding schools. Where were they, you know, for you to wake up when an incident has occurred?
They're on their desks, doing other roles, doing any other duties.
And any other duties, yeah. So they also normally handle approval and accreditation. Yes. So I think that also then we need to ask them, where, when those schools were being opened, the
Where
ones
were
that
you?
that are affilled,
Where were you?
where were you?
Where were you?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what some that directorate is supposed to be handling, and I think that is one of the directorates that is under fire right now because everyone is asking, boarding has a problem, CBC implementation has a problem. What are you people doing?
But it's the same way when hard questions were being asked about the way grade 9 is going to come this year, and even I think it was even the cabinet secretary and the teachers were saying, where is the policy document for us to implement this, so that even when we go back to our schools as head teachers, we know what to be able to,
Yeah.
to train our teachers for. And this CS was quoting a document from 2017, and I'm like,
2017. Okay. Hey, nyewe.
yeah,
You guys are
you're on
showing
your
us.
own. You're on your own. But the thing about this CBC is, I think for the next maybe 2-3 years, very little learning is going to happen. We should just accept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should go to the streets and demonstrate. But the way this government is set up,
Yeah.
they are very concerned with memes on social media more than the plight of our children.
And one of the biggest issues that we have as a country is the fact that our politicians comprise of the people with money in the country. Their children don't go to these schools that have problems. Their family members don't go to these hospitals that are suffering chief issues. So they are not in touch with reality. If we were to implement things like the way part of the developed world is, where you even have the upper middle class taking their children to public schools, just like everyone else, then
we would have much better service.
Exactly.
Would have, and that actually came out very clearly in the way this competency-based curriculum is structured, because of the memes that were coming out. Bring a bottle of Gilbino to class. That is on a lighter note. But think about it from this perspective. In Nairobi, the curriculum says bring a maize stalk or a maize plant. Let's say I live in Kawangware or Kibera. I have been there for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
I know how a maize plant looks like in a book. I have never seen it.
Yeah.
My parents, where are they going to get a maize stalk to give me to
know.
go with it to? Even how many students will bring a maize or bean stalk to that class?
Yeah.
In fact, just the other day, one of the influencers' children, I don't know if you saw this, Marvin or Steph, was calling a maize stalk aloe vera. I'll show you that meme, that video on TikTok.
Wait.
This is aloe vera. They asked, what is nduma? He said, this looks like mboga for poor people. It was a whole thing. And this is someone that you know is able, and they've taken their child to Shago, and they're in the learning process of telling them, this is what this looks like. Pack that. In the village where I come from, probably all the teachers have a kabambe. I'm not saying they are poor. I'm just saying, like, practically, probably, let's say all the teachers have a kabambe and it has 5 teachers. And they're saying, this is how a smartphone looks like. How many of the students in that class will be able to access and look at a smartphone?
Yeah.
Will be able to know what probably a laptop looks like. They are barely struggling with having a class structure. You're telling them about CG pizza, about CG,
They're supposed to be going for swimming. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're supposed to go to the river.
Exactly. You remember that swimming video?
Yeah.
Yes. So the practicality of it in some areas of the country is lacking.
Yes. I know of some, like a school in Shags, in an area that's really dry. They were given a goat to go and take care of a goat. And the parents are asking, we can barely feed ourselves. Then you give us goats. What are they going to eat? Like, let's be serious. We are bringing the kids to school. At least in school, they'll eat lunch through the school feeding program. And then now you add for us an expense. We're going to eat this goat.
Yeah, we'll slaughter it the next day. We'll just slaughter it the next day. We are sorry. What happened to the goat? It died of hunger.
Yeah. Too bad. Yeah. That is the report the child is going to write.
I think CBC, the heart of CBC was in the right place, but it's placed a massively undue burden to teachers,
Yes.
to students, and to parents. Because there's also the part where parents are saying, the reason why I'm bringing my kid to school, and it might not be fair, is because I want them to learn and not giving the burden of teaching them to me again. Because you've seen the projects that we are doing here. We have had to hire an entire part of assistants to help us with school projects. Not that we can't do it, we can, but we don't have the expertise to make a water fountain.
I know, right? I don't even know. I didn't even do physics, so I'm not even going to help you. Like,
and you're sending children to parents to go home to make. Why don't you make that
my
a
brother
class?
did a water fountain project in high school. Bro, in case we ever given that homework, she's coming to your house very fast.
But why can't you say bring or the government will give you materials, you'll come for an entire science class, all of us are going to make one water fountain.
And I think probably the issue that Kenyan parents have, the issue that they don't have the time to do these projects with their students, is because a lot of Kenyans are living hand to mouth. So we are here hustling to catch up with this economy.
Kasongo.
To
pay shift. Sha.
Exactly.
NSSF.
And then
NHIF.
You want me
CDF,
to get home?
PSF.
And you've given my kindergarten child a project to create a farm. Now, I don't know.
A model farm.
Yes. Okay. So I need to figure out how to make cows, goats, grass, paddocks, and this parent is honestly really tired from the stress of hustling, and Nairobi is not easy, and other parts of the country are not easy. Then they come home to do that. I think some of the schools that have a practical approach, a lot of the times during the day, they show the students how to do it. Now the homework is for the child to go practically do it. So the parent just comes home to check.
To supervise.
Yes. That, you've done it. Yes. But not to figure out how it's supposed
to be done.
Yes. Because honestly, if you tell me to do a water fountain, anyway, the school of YouTube is there. We shall try.
Yeah, some of us have graduated severally from YouTube University. We are not complaining.
Water fountain, that one is a hard one. Even me. Yeah. Okay. So tell us, what are the issues that you have seen with the education crisis in Kenya, implementation of CBC, and what do you think the government can do better? Let's give them feedback. I know they don't want it, but let's give it
to them.
Yes. Let's give them the feedback 1,000,001 times. And I know sometimes they even hide the public participation links. We will find them.
And we will post them.
Yes.
And we will participate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for listening or watching us today. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so. Hit the notification bell so that you know when we post a new video. And also tell a friend to tell a friend. And another one, please share so that we can keep sharing the information that we have. And if there are any topics you'd like us to discuss, please let us know on our social media platforms or on the comment sections on YouTube. My name is Ndanunz Yuko.
And I am Mihala Barasa. Please follow us on our individual pages as well.
Yes.
It has been fun hanging out with you. And until we see you guys next time,
bye.